Hello everybody, welcome to the first episode of Highguard Academy. My name is Dylan. I was a collegiate Apex and Halo coach and competitor for 4 years before I graduated roughly a year and a half ago. Since that time, I took a break from competitive shooters and esports as a whole, and then flash forward 3 days ago, I jokingly installed Highguard as a bit with my friends. And instead of hating the game, we all fell in love with it. Now it's been the only thing I've been able to think about for 72 hours, and I want to use my past experience in competitive shooters, as well as the lessons that I've learned so far in the 3 days of the game's release, to try to help you, and also help myself analyze my gameplay and improve as players. So with that out of the way, we're going to be using episode 1 to talk about the core mechanics of raiding, right? The game operates on successful attacks and successful defenses of your base. If you are not able to excessively turn raids into wins or hold off the attacking team on defenses, you're not going to win the game. So it's the most reasonable place to start for me. So I've got a few clips from my own gameplay here. We're going to be starting out with the successful assault that we had the other night. This is going to be in the first phase of the game. So right now we're just talking blue armors, blue weapons, easy enough. And just immediately off of the bat, we're jumping into action. This is one of the first and most common mistakes that I see people making. The 25 seconds that you have before a raid starts, it's easy to just kind of go into waiting mode, right? You're going to sit on the siege tower, you're going to wait for the dome to come down, and then you're going to start trying to shoot at the enemy and make these hero plays and rush on in, get the adrenaline going, and just go, 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 go. That is not the way that you want to be approaching these assaults if you want to be successful, right? Immediately, my teammates and I were rotating around the dome. We're trying to get line of sight on the enemy, communicate where they are, figure out their positions, and start building our strategy around that. Likewise, right now we're discussing where we're going to be planting our dome splitter. If you're unaware, dome splitters are possibly the most important piece of equipment in the entire game. My teammates and I, anytime that we find a dome splitter, we are immediately calling it out, and we're immediately adjusting our strategy around it. You're going to be able to plant it on one of the other outer shield walls to create a secondary opening for your team. And you can actually do this multiple times in the same raid. If you have 3-4 dome splitters, you can be approaching the site from 3-4 different angles, right? Which is going to be completely dispoppulating to the enemy team. So with that out of the way, we're running around, we're scouting. We've decided that we're going to go ahead and plant the dome splitter kind of over here on the right flank of the siege tower. And now with the remaining 10 seconds that we have, we're communicating our abilities, we're communicating our ultimates, we're trying to figure out the best way that we can approach this site, right? So immediately I've kind of fallen back, I'm pulling out the sniper rifle, and I am just staring into the middle of their base, right? Like I said, the dome is invisible. Use this time to scout out the enemy team, get what information you can. So right now we're communicating how we want to do the split. We've decided that Gabe and I are going to be trying to find an opening on this right flank, whereas my teammate HiMcFly over there. He's going to be trying to sit near the siege tower, use the sniper to get some poke damage, and again, we're going to take this slow. We're going to play for information. We're not going to get super chaotic and try to push for the sake of pushing. So here we go. The raid starts. The dome's going to be dropping. We see that there's one player top mid. We haven't seen anyone else. We don't know exactly where they are, but the important thing to note here is this guy is completely tunnel visioned on the siege weapon here, right? He's looking this way. He has no clue that Gabe and I are on his flank. He has no clue that we can see them, right? Now, if I hadn't taken a year and a half away from competitive shooters and I wasn't rusty, this guy should be dead. Unfortunately, I'm rusty. So there's going to be some ugly shots here as we're going to miss, but you're going to see that ultimately it doesn't really matter because we still effectively get the benefit as if we won this fight, right? So we're going to be forcing him off. You're going to see that he's going to be rotating over here to the left, trying to get behind that rock wall for cover. That's going to be doing two things, right? Yes, it does preserve his life. It does let him live. But it's going to mean that he's not watching the opening that Gabe and I are currently slipping through, right? And he's not going to be able to be applying that pressure. He's not going to be able to communicate our positions to his teammates other than just roughly their right side of siege tower, right? So we're going to continue in, trying to watch that, make sure he's not re-peeking us. Gabe and I, we successfully infiltrate here. Again, I can't emphasize, this is calm, this is cool, this is collected. We're communicating what we see. We're not trying to make hero plays, and we're not immediately trying to rush to a generator. So we're going to calm down here. Like I said, we do know that we've got a kind of opposing sniper somewhere on the right side of the base, right? So right now, this big rock directly to my right here, I'm going to be using that as cover to cut off any potential line of sight that he can have on me while we go ahead and clear the left side of this of their base, right? You can kind of imagine that The sniper, he's completely stuck over here where he cannot see me. Meanwhile, the rock is just giving me ample room and opportunity to scan the entire left side of this map, communicate anything that I see to my teammates. The rest of my teammates are also doing this, right? Gabe's going to be working the kind of right side of this map, laying low, playing around the sand dunes, playing around the rocks, trying not to expose himself too much while kind of playing peekaboo for any information he can. Meanwhile, Jack is still sitting near the siege tower. He's going to be trying to set up any possible crossfires for someone rotating towards Gabe and I's direction. That's another thing that I wanted to say. Crossfires in this game, I cannot emphasize how hugely influential they are in the way that fights go. Whenever you start out, it's easy just to try to 3-stack and snowball things together. It'll work up to a certain point. But once you get to a certain level of play, you're going to be needing someone holding those off angles, right? The best way to really explain this, honestly, is going to be with a little paint diagram, right? So let's see here. So right now, Gabe and I are on this rock. I'm right here. I'm D. Gabe is right over here. He's G. We do know that there's the enemy sniper somewhere over here, and he's got a rock wall of his own, right? Meanwhile, Jack is over here on the siege tower. Jack has this fantastic line of sight where he can see if the sniper is trying to wrap on Gabe and I, right? Whereas if we kind of like take this a couple seconds back, if Jack is right here, the sniper and his teammates, they could be wrapping back over here. They could be trying to like clear this distance, and as they do so, we don't have any gunfire to lay them down, right? So they're getting free movement without our knowledge, and we're not able to put down any damage. Whereas then if we go back to this original example, Jack's over here holding down the snipe. He's watching these angles. If the sniper tries to move up on Gabe and I, try to get a flank, he's going to be taking damage, and as soon as that damage is dealt, maybe his shields are cracked, Gabe and I are going to be able to immediately pounce into action with a damage advantage in that like 2v1, right? So that should absolutely seal things up. Now, here we're actually going to see that the crossfire isn't necessary. The sniper tries to just stay back, play his life. Whenever he does get aggressive, he's going to get punished for it. So as we immediately jump in, I don't want to save you, thank you, Paint. Here, Gabe's calming. What if we just go for Nexus, right? We haven't gotten a lot of resistance. They were very much focused on the siege tower. A and B look just unenticing here, really. And then the thing that we've personally had really awesome experiences with is Scarlet's passive ability to temporarily turn walls into sand, right? If you and your teammates have not been playing with Scarlet, you should change that. This character is busted. If you played Apex, this is day one Wraith. There's a completely different dynamic that I'll get into once we... Here, I'll let it play. I won't get ahead of myself. So there's that sniper from earlier who's gotten this cross angle on Gabe and I. Gabe is immediately going to be bouncing into cover, right? We've been playing super, super tight to these rocks. It's going to allow Gabe to disengage, while then I'm able to swing to the left and lay down the fire, right? Very, very minor thing. Gabe, fantastic job not getting out of position here. And then immediately we get that kill. We have a 3v2. We have to go, 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 right? I cannot emphasize, if you play hockey, if you play literally any sport, anytime that someone gets thrown out of the game for a penalty, you've got a power play. Exact same situation here, right? A 3v2 is worlds different from 3v3. You need to get aggressive off of that, assuming that you're not already almost dead. Now, admittedly, Gabe and I, both of our shields are cracked, so we can't immediately go guns blazing, but we're going to be working to taking that positioning, right? Because of all the scouting that we've done, we know that there's not a teammate directly next to the sniper, so we don't have to immediately curl up and just watch for the res. Now, I am going to be using my tactical here in just a moment. Again, I've already talked the praises of Scarlet. Praises of Condor are equally so, right? Now, it's easy to sort of misunderstand Condor's kit, right? Whenever you hit Condor's tactical and you get no scans, you don't know where the enemy is, at first it can feel kind of bad. But whenever you sort of reframe the way that you're thinking about Condor, Condor is not only a tool to get information as to the enemy's position, Condor is a movement denial opportunity, right? So by operating the scan right there, the enemy team that we're facing has the option to either give up their positions to try to play for this res and get in better defensive positions for our attack here on the Nexus, or they can sit still and sort of give up that res, right? They have to make that decision, and either way, it's not very useful for them. So even though in this case we don't get an immediate scan, our positioning is fantastic. Who cares? Condor has done her job here, right? So now here we are with Scarlet. Scarlet is going to turn that wall into sand. That ability is absolutely insane for a couple of different reasons, right? whenever we're able to engage and play together and find our way through that wall with Scarlet's passive, eventually that wall is going to go back to just being a blank wall. As the attackers, you have detonator charges, you've got the hammers, you've got the rockets, you can blow out those walls. As a defender, it's harder to break down your own walls, right? Just by the very mechanics of the game. And so by using Scarlet's Sand ability, we are closing the number of sort of like viewpoints that go into a point. And so the defenders are sort of automatically funneled by the pre-existing doors and the pre-existing windows. Whenever you go guns blazing into a generator and you blow off all the walls surrounding it, it's cool, but it also opens up so many sightlines that then the defenders can use against you while they're trying to retake the point, right? By doing it this way, you're forcing the defenders to become the attackers, except that they still have to figure out how to breach their own defense point, which they can't use their wall breaches for, right? It's a silly little thing, but seriously, if you're not abusing Scarlet's passive ability, you should be.
I'm here. Yep.
So now, Gabe and I, we have a 2v2. Now, Jack, because of the crossfire we set up earlier, he's going to be a little bit far out. So Gabe and I are facing this as an even 2v2 split. He and I, we've been duos for forever, so we know how each other play. We're going to be able to play off of each other here. Gabe immediately going to the Nexus. I'm going to see that someone's coming through this doorway here, and we've kind of accidentally split ourselves up into two separate 1v1 encounters here, right? I've got this person behind me. Gabe's going to be seeing someone kind of off screen where you can't, the doorway next to the Nexus, right? We aren't in a position to give each other fantastic support here, but we are still able to kind of, because of how close we are to each other here, we are able to drop down, climb up, and try to help each other out as soon as one of our enemies is dead, right? So that's exactly what we're going to see here. Even though we are not taking a 2v1, we're taking two separate 1v1s, which is honestly a mistake on our part.
Fine.
So right here, like I said, we have some rusty mechanics, but it's not going to matter. Jack's finally going to be able to catch up to us there. And so Jack and I have united here. Gabe has been fighting this super fierce 1v1. He's calling that there's going to be a res next to the door.
Behind you, Gabe.
Someone falls behind him. Jack and I are going to be collapsing on that. Even though Gabe's gone down here, we do still have a numbers advantage. We know that this is a 2v1, and this defender is going to make a huge mistake here by re-peeking. He is already flesh. He's about half health. I think I've got 40 flesh damage on him. Jack and I are swinging this together, and he's going to make the bold decision to come flying out there and try to 2v1, which is not going to end up in his favor. Immediately, without skipping a beat, they're 3 dead. Grab this res. I cannot emphasize how important reses are while you're on attack. This is sort of one of the main dynamics that you need to understand. While attacking, you have to be playing for reses. While defending, it's more important to be denying reses and worry less so about reses. On the attacking team, you have 9 lives, right? You have your 3 initial lives that you start with, plus the 6 respawns. As the defending team, you have infinite lives, right? So if you trade on a 1-for-1 basis, that's going to be benefiting the defending team. This sounds really obvious whenever you say it out loud, but whenever you think about playing for trades when you're on defense and then playing more aggressively for reses whenever you're on offense, you're going to see that turn into more successful games where you're not getting out of position trying to force a res when you're on defense, and vice versa, right? So here we get Gabe's res. We've got 45 seconds on the Nexus. The enemy team is going to be resing here, right? If you've played any amount of Halo, you should know that inside of your brain there should constantly just be a number of stopwatches going. Whenever someone dies, they're immediately put on that 15-second res timer, and we have those 15 seconds to stabilize and try to get in positions, right? Now, my timer right there was a little bit off. This is another sort of concept where you don't want to hold directly next to the Nexus. You want to try to take some amount of space further out, so then you're not just huddled around the Nexus in sort of this like awkward holding directly next to the bomb. You want to take a little bit more space so that when the attackers come through, there's sort of more time and more room for you to play with. If you're already backed up all the way up against the Nexus whenever the attackers commit to you and they break your armor, you have nowhere to run. If you're in the room over and you have that sort of like initial skirmish between them, they break your shields, you're able to still back off into the Nexus, where then your teammates who are maybe playing other rooms are able to come back and collapse, and now suddenly you're in for a more united 3v1, and you've sort of got an opportunity to recharge your shields. I might be rambling here. Hopefully that sort of makes sense. I don't know. But again, the idea is that you want to be holding a little bit further out from the Nexus rather than just standing directly on top of it. Now, I was trying to get in position there. My internal timer was a little bit off, and I was caught off guard. So I immediately just turn around and try to get out, right? Whenever the other team sort of has that opening position on you, and I know that I've got my 3 teammates right here, whereas 1 or 2 of them are still in the red screen. I can either try to fight that and make a heroic 1v1, or I can just back off, regroup with my friends, and then we've got a 2v1 or a 3v1. So I immediately drop off here. Jack is using his ult on point, just to try to make it more difficult for the enemy team to get in. Gabe and I are now swinging this guy together that we already know where he is. We've calmed where he is. Gabe's a little bit ahead of me, but I'm going to be able to swing in and clean up. But he wins the 1v1 because Gabe's just got it. Now we immediately turn around. Jack is caught off guard because he's sitting next to the Nexus. He's sort of opening. He's sitting in that sort of open area around it, whereas Gabe and I have positioned to this room off to the side, which allows us more cover, more room to play around with. Now, I'm trying to use the sniper here in sort of like this close proximity, just because getting an opening shot off it and then kind of rounding the corner, switching to the AR, that's going to give you a really awesome like opening burst damage to a fight. Unfortunately, I missed there. We immediately skip. Gabe and I notice that we're 2v1ing, right? So if we go back right here for a split second, there is one person right here, and then I don't think you can quite see it, but one person's around this wall dropping down into the Nexus, right? A very easy and common mistake is that I'm trying to focus on this guy right here. Gabe, maybe he's swinging to the left, he's trying to focus on that guy right there. And so even though we have this opportunity to fight together, we're fighting 2 independent 1v1s. That's what we saw earlier in this game, right? In this case, Gabe and I have communicated that we're focusing this person first. And so instead of taking it as 2 separate 1v1s, we're going to be playing our angles where we're shutting off the teammates. Here, let me clear this to make it a little bit more visual, right? So right now, we have this wall to play around. The teammate is down here. Teammate does not have a line of sight on us. So right now, Gabe and I, we have a unified line of sight on this guy. And so even though it's technically a 2v2, the enemy is teammate, not in the equation at all for this gunfight. So this is really a 1v1 or a 2v1 that then we're going to turn into another 2v1 as soon as this person's dead. So there we go. And then immediately, without skipping a beat, Gabe and I are swinging because we know that there's one left, right? We know this is a 2v1. We're just trying to determine where they are. Gabe calls for the defuse, and you see here that we are trying to approach through 2 separate positions. So I'm trying to play this railway right here to shoot down. Meanwhile, Gabe is going to be dropping down in here, and that's going to kind of give us this sandwich, right? I'm going to be using a lot of these terms, and we're going to be talking about this a little bit more on defense, actually, just because the clip that I have is a little bit more attuned to it. But kind of coming up with these sort of like duo plays where you're able to put the enemy in awkward positions, it's really going to pay dividends for your gunfights. So here we go. And then you saw that right there, where as I'm shooting from up top, Gabe is immediately swinging around down here, and we're able to just get this absolutely devastating, just double swing, double kill. Now we do know that there's 3 dead. We immediately jump for the res. Notice that even though we know there are 3 dead, every single second that you have here is an opportunity to reposition. I'm dragging Jack here behind this wall. Immediately using my scan. There's only 12 seconds here. If the team's going to be able to defuse this, they have to be sprinting in, which is going to, again, leave them vulnerable to my scan, right? I cannot emphasize, my first few games, I was too focused on the gunplay. Use your abilities. Your ability, this is not Overwatch where your abilities are going to win fights by themselves, but your abilities are going to offer so much utility for your team, and they're going to be able to just completely determine gunfights, whether it's by denying space, giving information, or allowing for really, really tricky plays like sand walls. And so now, we're just in the waiting room. It's a 2v3. They have to make a hero play. The game is all about said and done.
Good shit.
And that's it. That's GG's. So, after that, we're going to go ahead and look at a quick showcase of what we do on defense, right? So, this one I skipped a little bit further ahead. The sort of 20 seconds leading up to the raid, same exact idea. Whether you're on offense or defense, you should be trying to look through the wall, identify where the enemy team is converging from. Now, in the 20 seconds, we were very, very vigilant. We always are vigilant about communicating where the enemy team is dropping their dome splitter. And this is actually a showcase of what happens when the enemy team doesn't have a dome splitter, right? So, in this case, they are sort of forced through this first opening here. Which is just going to leave us to kind of shoot fish in a barrel. There's only one opening in, and this is a mistake that a lot of people make, right? Now, you will see here that I keep on looking to the wall to my right here, if you give it a second, right? I'm hearing footsteps, we're getting pings. These walls are destructible. If you are attacking Wellspring, blowing up these walls, whether it's with a wall charge, your rocket launcher, whatever, it's going to open up more line of sights. The enemy team is not doing that, right? It's something that you need to be aware of as a defender and even more aware of if you're an attacker. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, this game is all about line of sights, right? If you're able to open up new angles, sort of get these awkward crossfires, shut down the areas that the enemy is able to move, that's going to translate into more wins. So I keep hearing these footsteps. Again, if you haven't already, you got to crank the noise on this game. The footsteps are loud, the footsteps are very audible, but if you're not able to hear the footsteps, you're putting yourself at an express disadvantage. Right, so now here, Gabe does get caught out of position. This is sort of the exact opening that the enemy team is looking for. Now, notice, like I talked about earlier, whenever you're on attack, reses are super, super important to play for. Whenever you're on defense, they're significantly less important. Yes, it is a 20-second respawn timer, but those 20 seconds you can use to sort of like bait the opponent's orb, right? It's more important that you stay in a defensive position where you can try to slow down the tempo of the enemy team rather than immediately trying to rush and resurrect Gabe. So right here, Gabe's gone down. I'm using that almost as an opportunity to bait him, right? They still haven't opened up any other areas of the dome. They haven't opened up any walls. I know they're going to be forcing their way through here, which means that Gabe's orb, yes, it's slowly taking down over there, but Jack and I are still able to just maintain this 2-on-1 sort of crossfire on the opening here. We're going to get that opening burst and immediately push him out, right? While he's off, waiting for his shields to recharge, this is effectively reduced back to just an even 2v2. Now here, the enemy team Scarlet pops ult. I attempt to apply some pressure here, but I know, sort of in this isolated environment, Scarlet ult is not going to go well if I try to force that 1v1. So you're going to see here in just a moment as I turn and I run, right? I got to play my life here. Yes, that gives up position. Yes, it lets them kind of stream in through the center, but in this specific situation, playing my life is going to be kind of generating more tempo for my team. Gabe's only got 9 seconds left on his respawn. At this point, we're pretty confident if they're popping ults just to engage, they're not going to have their ults whenever they're actually planning for the generator. And so if we're able to just sort of fall back here and try to restabilize, that's going to even our chances of being able to get back into this defense.
On me, Jack. I don't know if you can help.
Now I am calling for my teammates' help here, so Jack's going to be trying to watch me as we know the Scarlet is going to be trying to hunt me down. Turning tail, running, getting directly into this trench, falling off, right? As I sit here and wait for my shields to recharge, I'm going to be popping my tactical. It's an important thing to realize about Condor is that you don't need line of sight. You can just hit your bumper and the scan happens. It doesn't actually matter where you're looking. This isn't Bloodhound. This is sort of a UAV around you. So we're going to be scanning here, trying to get information on the enemy team. Now Jack is out of position there, right? We know that there's enemies nearby. He's trying to hunt them down, and it leaves them in sort of this open position. We don't get a super, super great view of this, but Gabe just came off of respawn. Gabe's going to be working his way through the back, trying to unite with me here. It was an even 3v3. Gabe got caught, turned it into a 3v2, and then now we're back up to a 3v3. Jack immediately goes down, 2v3. We're definitely on the back foot here, so we need to figure out a way to equalize. Now, Jack dying here does sort of open the door that they are looking to engage and clear instead of immediately rushing to one of the generators, rushing to one of the nexuses. So that's going to kind of give us the information here. Right, my scan doing fantastic work right here. They're choosing to sort of engage and force the point, preventing them from slowing down. We're going to see that one of them is isolated and the two of them are back over here. Gabe and I immediately going to hop into action on this, seeing that one of them is split from the others. So Gabe's able to get a crack, and then I'm going to be trying to swing on that, get the counterpoint, right? Now here, enemy Condor gets that scan. I am choosing to prioritize finishing this kill and making sure that this attacker is out of the fight and give them some information about my position. But we're going to see here in just a moment that's actually going to turn on the enemy team as Gabe and I are going to do a little bit of a bait and switch. So I'm throwing out a lot of terms here. I'm going to quickly paint 3 quick strategies that you can do with your own duo to really try to improve in gunfights, right? So like I said, there's the sort of classic bait and switch. So let's say that we're playing on a corner right here. We've got teammate number 2 and teammate number 1, and then we've got the enemy somewhere over here. The enemy is going to see this. We're going to try to sort of have a brief 1v1 exchange where player 1, teammate 1, only objective is to break shields, put down as much damage as they can. Do not full commit to that fight, right? You are the bait. You want to get as much damage down on the enemy, and you want to sort of appear weak as you sort of back off, right? Enemies who are over eager to finish that kill, teammate 1 is going to fall back. Teammate 2 is going to be full health. You're going to slide around that corner. Enemy is going to be caught off guard trying to chase teammate number 1, and that enemy whose shields are already cracked, teammate 2 should be able to finish that without any problems at all, right? Now, if we go ahead and paint out another possible situation for you, so this is going to be the swing. So same situation. We know that there's one enemy here. We have teammate 1 right here, and we have teammate 2 right here. If you swing and you just do this together, you want one teammate to take the outside edge, one player to, the inside edge, one teammate to take kind of the more outer edge, and then you're forcing that enemy to try to shoot 2 people at once. That is more likely to result in a trade where one of you goes down, but assuming that enemy is completely isolated, you should just be able to get the res and be totally fine, right? At the cost of a little bit of time. And then sort of the final technique that I want to talk to you about is going to be sandwiching. So let's say that we know that the enemy is right here. We know that we've got teammate 1 right here, teammate 2 right here. Well, maybe we're going to try to play a little bit more for time. Teammate 1 is just going to try to poke the enemy, make sure that they're not able to like full commit to that. Meanwhile, while that's happening, teammate 2 is wrapping around, and now 3, 2, 1, we're both going to pop out at the same time, and the enemy is stuck between 2 guns, right? So again, there's sandwiching, there's baiting and switching, and then there's swinging. Those are kind of be your 3 most base level terminologies for taking on gunfights as a duo. So sandwiching, swinging, and then baiting and switching. Hopefully that's sort of insightful, and hopefully my shitty paint drawings have done well enough to illustrate my points. We're actually about to see all of those in practice, right? So right here, if we go back just a moment, Gabe gets the opening damage on, I believe it was the Scarlet. I honestly can't recall. So we get the opening damage, we get the shields are cracked. Gabe is going to be holding that angle. Meanwhile, I'm flanking around. This is going to be just absolute textbook sandwich situation. Goes down. I immediately get scanned. We're going to take this as an opportunity to bait and switch the enemy team. They know where they are. They know where I am. And so they're going to be trying to push me. Meanwhile, Gabe is staying off of the scan, and he's going to be trying to set up in a position as soon as the scan is over to then be able to sort of protect and assist me. So I go right here. They got caught sort of here in this ditch trying to hunt me down. Gabe's able to swing down over here, get that opening damage, and then I'm swinging over here. And again, they're sort of caught in this sort of sandwich, right? The bait and switch, sandwich, all these techniques are going to work together. Right, and again, prioritizing finishing that kill before anything else. My stream stutters there for a little bit. I get shot in the back. I immediately find cover, calm that out to Gabe. Now the 2 of us are going to approach this together. The scan here is going to deny the opponent's opportunity to run away without revealing their location. So Gabe and I are just going to get perfect textbook sandwich. We're shooting them from 2 separate angles. We know where they are. Easy, textbook, said and done. Again, I'm rambling a little bit there, but hopefully those sort of like 3 back-to-back fights, even though it's a 2v3 situation, the enemy team sort of trickled in there, and instead of being a 2v3, they turn it into a 2v1, a 2v1, and a 2v1, right? That's sort of the most imperative thing to understand, that you need to be able to play with your teammates, and even though we are numerically down, if the enemy is going to put themselves in isolated situations, it doesn't matter that they have 2 teammates up if they're all on their own for that one moment in time for that gunfight. So continuing on here, we're able to finish that kill, and with that wipe, we're able to completely regain our position, right? So it was scary there for a second, but now we're able to reset. Jack and Gabe playing that sort of center, and again, I'm holding this off angle.
They know I'm here. They know I'm here.
Now they do know I'm here. I was playing this earlier on in the game. They're going to be aware that I'm trying to play this, and we're going to try to use that as an opportunity to almost like bait them in. One of them drops into the tunnel. I'm able to put a little bit of fire. Jack's able to get a crossfire. Again, a little bit hard to see in engine, but right there, the enemy is right here. I'm playing this wall right here, able to get shots right there. Meanwhile, Jack is over here, getting shots right there, and then Gabe's over here in the center. Nowhere where that enemy runs are they surviving. So that's the power of the cross angle. Be aware of where your opponents are and try to give yourself complementary angles where you're not trying to stare through the exact same line of sight as them. Cool. And at this point, the enemy team is all out of respawns. We know that they're going to be locked in a 2v3 here. They're just trying to get damage. They're desperate here for an opening of some sort. They can't find it. The three of us are feeling good. Gabe, Jack, they need their shields to recharge, but we're still going to use this opportunity to take space, right? Whenever the raid is ending, there's sort of a moment in time where the defenders should become the aggressors. For those unfamiliar, whenever the raid ends, if the attackers are able to escape without losing life, their base will not take damage. If the attackers full wipe, their base will take the 30 damage and sort of equalize things, right? So whenever you see the raid ending soon, if the attackers aren't able to finish committing to a generator or the nexus, the attackers need to get out of dodge. And if they don't do that, the defenders can take advantage of that to then deal damage to their base, right? So right here, we know where the two of them are just because of all this gunfire. We're going to be aggressing, trying to take space here. Jack gets caught a little bit out of position. Gabe and I immediately just sort of fall back and use this as an opportunity to bait Jack's body. Gabe's going to be able to get that res for Jack while I sort of hold this angle for him. That's honestly a really good opportunity to talk about the usage of nades. Nades are super, super powerful. The recharge time is long, and that's because of how good they are, right? Use the grenade as an opportunity to force people out of position, and then if they don't, they're going to be taking a lot of damage, and it's just going to combo bread and butter with your SMG, right? Then now we know it's a 3v1. The three of us are all just going to swing this wall together, and bam. That's what a successful defense looks like, right? So notice that we didn't successfully hold that choke point for the entirety of that raid, right? We were able to hold it for a time, cost the attackers a couple of lives. They were eventually able to break it, and instead of panicking and immediately rushing to a generator, rushing to the nexus, trying to figure out what was happening, my teammates and I took a deep breath. We gave up positioning. We worked on falling back. And we played for information. We got those scans, and we converted that information into 3 isolated 2v1s rather than trying to force a 2v3. So that's sort of the important thing to take away there. Now, I know I've been rambling for a while here. I do have a couple more clips that I'm going to quickly show you. These are a lot less involved. So here's going to be another fantastic example of how working as a duo can just give you an insane upper hand in fights. So in this case, Gabe and I are defending. We know that it's a 2v2. Our teammate Jack is alive, but he's not really able to fight here. He's just got wide armor, and he's out of position. Luckily, we do know that the attackers are down to just 2 players remaining. They're out of respawns. We killed the third, blah, blah, blah. So in this case, you're going to notice we do know that they're over here on the B generator. Notice that Gabe and I are taking different routes here. We're not holding hands while we get to B. We're intentionally I'm sort of taking this longer outside connector. Gabe is taking a more direct path, and that's going to allow for, you know it, crossfires. It's going to allow us to see different things, share different information with each other, and by the time that we reach the B generator, hopefully we have some advantage of some sort, whether that's informational advantage or a damage advantage. Now in this case, we aren't able to see too much, but we're going to collapse on this B point, see how we have different angles here. I have a direct line of sight on this person placing generator. Gabe's going to be able to swing through this opening door and sort of provide additional sort of like 90-degree pressure there. So just to paint exactly what the site looks like right now, generator's right here, enemy 1 is right here, I'm right here staring directly at the enemy, and Gabe is getting ready to flank through here. That enemy has absolutely nowhere to run. We do know that somewhere the second enemy is back here, but they aren't immediately engaged in this fight, and so on paper it's a 2v2, in practice it's a 2v1. This is all that the game is about, is minimizing fights to go from 2v1s in your favor. Put yourselves in positions, set up crossfires, do what you can to minimize engagements to that degree. So we get a little bit of damage in. Gabe's going to be pushing through. Gabe pops his ult to try to finish things off. Awesome. There's a 2v1. The opponent swings to try to get that trade. Luckily, I didn't have much damage put on me because that opponent was focused on Gabe. And now we're back. And you guessed it, this is a sandwiching opportunity. So I'm just going to let this one play out.
Dead. Holy fuck, I won that game with the no-scope, bitch!
And a little bit of hype. You got to have some hype after these games. Keep the energy up. Alright, and then finally, whenever shit does hit the fan, whenever things go super, super poorly, there's always the opportunity for a hero defuse. I don't recommend this, but while defusing, it is important to know that you do still have relatively quick movement speed. If you're playing on controller and you're not using back pedals, or you're not playing claw grip, you got to switch something up. You got to mess with your controls. You got to be able to move while interacting with the environment, and this is exactly why.
Just take it. Fuck. I defused. Holy fucking
Hero
shit.
diffuses are possible. You just always got to believe. So with that, I think I've yapped enough. Hopefully you have some takeaways from this video, whether it's the positioning and how you sort of like use cover to split sightlines and gather information, whether it's taking things slow, communicating with your teammate, playing for that information rather than the adrenaline rush, whether it's taking 2v3s and unfavorable situations and trying to intentionally chop them up to become 2v1s, or whether it's acknowledging the different ways that you can approach fights, whether it's baiting and switching, whether it's sandwiching, whether it's swinging together, right? Those are sort of the key main takeaways that you should be taking away from this and trying to apply to your own gameplay. So with all that said, I won't keep it any longer. Class is dismissed. I'll see you later.